Hi, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Night Book Club with Rock Your Purpose. My name is Lauren Smithson. I'm a Sapphire Ambassador with Plexus. And as you all know, it is a very exciting night for our team. It is the last night of the month. So I'm going to obviously lead book club here, but I know that there's lots of excitement going on. So first of all, congratulations to all the rank ups. I'm excited for all the re-ranks and just joins in general. Just really excited for everybody. We're going to do book club as planned and hopefully have a really good discussion and then continue finishing the night strong. So anyway, we're going to go over chapters 7 and 8 of Go Pro. This book is, as we've talked about every week, incredible. I feel like it just breaks down really simply all the things that we need to be doing in order to grow. And these two chapters I thought were really fitting for the end of the month when we're doing a lot of following up, reaching back out, and having people join us with another exposure. So yeah, so we're going to get started talking about that. And the first chapter, chapter 7, is about following up with your prospects. We say this all the time on Rock Your Purpose and Plexus in general, that the fortune is in the follow-up. So if we just do one reach out one time, likely we're not going to get a lot of joins if we're only talking to people one time about our products or our opportunity. We really have to make sure that we are going back into those chats, asking them more questions, following up again and again and again, and layering those exposures so that they can learn more about what we have to offer. There's a lot of people that don't follow up or just don't follow up very well. So that's what these chapters are about. And I think he does a really good job of outlining them. So he gives us a few concepts of why we follow up and what that looks like. So concept 1 is following up is really just doing what we said that we would do. I think sometimes people come into sharing for the first time and they're like, I don't want to bug them. I don't want to go back in there and say something else and bother my friends. But if we're following up consistently, it's just doing what we already told them that we're going to do. If we say, hey, I'm going to call you at 8 a.m. on Friday, call them at 8 a.m. on Friday, or I'm going to call you after work, call them right after work. If you set a time that you're going to follow up with somebody, or like, let's say you say, I'm going to send you this video, I'll check back in with you in the morning and see what your thoughts were. Do that. Check back in the morning. It's going to build trust with people. They're going to respect you and respect your opportunity, your product a lot more if you're showing up and following up like a professional. He had a really good example about his dad had a meeting with this guy, and the guy shows up 10 minutes early. His dad shows up 10 minutes late, and the guy had already left. And he said, I have time, like I have other stuff to do. My time's valuable. He's late to this meeting. If you're not early or on time, you are late. And I don't have time to sit here and wait until you arrive for whenever that time is for you. So basically he just left. And his dad was never late for a meeting with that man again, and probably with anybody, because he learned people's time is valuable. So if you set up another time to expose somebody to something or to follow up with them, make sure that you are sticking to that time, and it's going to actually really help you earn respect from those people. Concept number 2, the only reason to have one exposure is to set up the next one. So if we are talking to somebody about Plexus, asking them questions, we don't just want to leave it with nothing planned to reach back out another time. We're really dropping the ball if we're not setting up another exposure after we're done with that initial contact. So if we've just talked to somebody and leave it open, there it falls, we probably won't have a lot of luck with that person. If we say, okay, I'm going to send you this video, I'll check back in a half an hour and see what you thought, then you've already set up that time for that next exposure. So he says, really make a time and stick to it that you're going to go back to them, because if you just conclude it with, what did you think of this? Then it kind of leaves it almost too open-ended, and it's not concrete enough to give them an idea of what you're looking for from them or what they can expect from you. So just remembering that we're not just trying to get people, we're not just trying to get them to sign up with us and then not help them ever again. We are educating them and helping them understand what we have to offer by layering exposure after exposure after exposure until they can make a decision. So when you go back to them to review what you've sent them, if they say they have not looked at the material that you sent, I think sometimes we can almost get offended and say, what the heck, I sent you that video, it's only 2 minutes long, why didn't you watch it? Or I don't know, in your head, hopefully it's only staying in your head and you're not saying that to that person, because it can be kind of demeaning to get upset with them for not looking at what you've sent them. Number one, maybe they didn't have time yet to do it, or they haven't gotten to it. Number two, life happens, and we have to really just be understanding that either life happens and they forgot to get back into it. It was probably not an intentional thing because of you. So make sure that you are kind and help yourself build a good relationship with them by saying, I know life can get busy. When do you think you would have time to look for it or look at it? And then make your next exposure, your next follow-up time after they say they for sure can look at something. So then that way you're giving them, or they're giving you an idea of, I will look at it at this time. So then when you follow up, hopefully they really have had time by then. And just repeat that until they actually can look at the material. Life happens. It's usually not because they're ignoring you or ghosting you or trying to make you feel bad. It's usually that's just something came up. So just try not to take that personally if they have not looked at what you sent yet. And then, for example, that happened to me this week. I sent somebody something simple just to read. And I said, did you look at this yet? It had been not that long, I guess, maybe a day. And she said, no, I've had sick kiddos. There's lots of stuff going around. She's got 3 little kids and she's the primary caregiver. Probably really didn't have time to look in her Facebook messages. Right now, we are really in the back of our phones and our Facebook messages because we have goals we want to reach. We are trying to reach a lot of people. We're on our phones all the time, but other people just aren't. They might not necessarily be checking their messenger every 3 minutes like we are, right? So just remember that everybody's got their own stuff going on. Okay, and then if they have looked at the stuff that you sent them, you want to ask some intelligent questions. Again, not just, what did you think? You want to ask something like, what did you like best about what I sent you? That automatically takes it in a positive direction, and it's an open-ended question. Open-ended questions are really nice because it gives them a chance to explain themselves, rather than if you just ask a yes or no question, then they could answer with a yes or no, and then it's hard to follow up after that. So keep it open-ended so you can have them explain themselves to you. If they say that they like something about the products, then your next exposure is likely going to be about the products. If they say that they liked something about the opportunity, then your next exposure to them will be about the opportunity. So lots of open-ended, what was your favorite part kind of questions. I also really like, he talks about this a couple times in these 2 chapters, asking somebody on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you right now in your process of being excited about this or wanting to get started? 1 being, not really ready for that. 10 being, yep, sign me up right now. Where are you at on that scale? And then that can kind of gauge where you go next. If they are like 100% green light, be ready to get them signed up. If they're a little bit more in the middle, he said anything over a 1 gives you a little chance to expose them again and expose them again, unless they say flat out, not interested. Even if they say they're not interested, I've had this question asked a lot. That doesn't mean forever. It might just be not right now. So don't forget to kind of come back to them later and say, I know it wasn't the right time on XYZ month. This has changed, or I thought of you again, wanted to know if that had changed at all. And that can help a lot with getting people that you thought maybe were no's exposed again and again. Okay, concept 3. He says it takes an average of 4 to 6 exposures to join. And truthfully, everything that I have read in the last couple of years says even way more than that on average, because we're exposed to so many things now that even when this book was written, we weren't exposed to. I think we are like always being thrown something like an ad, or all over our Facebooks, every social media that we have, we're always getting something thrown at us that we are exposed to. So people are exposed to so much that it actually takes quite a few more exposures to join now. So don't just follow up the 1 time. It's going to be over and over and over. One of the things I really liked about this too is when you are hold on, let me read my note. Otherwise I'm going to get it confused. Oh, when you are reaching out to people, try not to give a bunch of information at one time and never follow up with them, because that's overwhelming to people. You want to kind of do it as a conversation and in phases. So that's why you do small exposure, small exposure, small exposure, rather than like puking plexus on them. Okay. Concept number 4, condense your exposures for better results. So this just makes sense. If you are, and you're going to feel this at the end of the month. Right now, you're not going to say, okay, did you watch that? And then follow up in 2 weeks, right? Right now, we're asking somebody to look at something and then maybe a couple hours saying, did you check that out? Or even the next day. The shorter time period that you set up those exposures, the better your outcome is going to be. If you say, look at this, and then 2 weeks later, you expose them to something else, a month later, expose them to something else, obviously that's going to take a lot longer. And people just get distracted by life, so they're going to forget what you're even talking about. So keeping it a little more condensed is going to help you get better outcomes. The next part was about objections, and I thought this was super important because we all get objections every single day, or just even questions about what we're offering people. So we're all going to come across objections. If you get one, it can be scary sometimes because you'll not know what to say, especially the first few times, but pretty much they're all kind of in the same categories. So make sure that you're not defensive when somebody gives you an objection, because that will plant a seed of doubt in their mind. You want to be positive with them. He gives us a couple ideas of how to respond. And then we don't want to be offensive either, because that chases people away. So just be kind. Your goal is to educate them and help them understand. You're not trying to win an argument or convince somebody. So just be kind and ask a lot of questions. Really, if they have an objection, it's just showing us where their blind spots are, or the things that they don't know yet that we can educate them on to help them get closer to saying yes to what we're offering. So objections usually come from 2 different categories. Either it's a limiting belief in their ability, so they're not sure if they can be successful with network marketing, or they're not sure if they'll like the product, something like that, right? Limiting beliefs in their abilities, or limiting beliefs in network marketing. That's if they're not sure if network marketing is going to help them achieve their goals. So basically, every single time somebody has an objection, we just want to have empathy, just relate to people, because probably we had a similar objection when we started, or question. If it wasn't an objection, it was a question, or somebody else on our team somewhere did, that you can share their story too. So the feel, felt, found method is really, really important to use here. So let's say somebody said, I don't have the money for that. You could say something like, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. I felt like my money situation was really tight too, but here's what I found. And then relate to them about your story or somebody else's story. My story is kind of like that. I had to use a credit card, and I wish that I didn't have to do that. And I was like, I don't want to pay this with a credit card every month, because that's not really feasible for me. So relating to people on that level is going to help them see that that objection has been overcome by somebody else before, and it's something that they can do anyway. So feel, felt, found is huge. Always better to relate to them than to make them feel like they are not smart for making a certain decision. Gosh, what was the example he used? He said, oh, you don't have money? Well, don't you pay bills? Don't you buy groceries? You have money. Or I've seen tons of people do this in Plexus. You buy a ton of Starbucks, you of course have money, right? You're just making people feel bad about their choices and kind of belittling them if you say it that way. So instead, relating to them, like, I really had tight finances at first too, or didn't want to have to budget for it, but this is what I found, is going to be a lot more successful than making somebody feel like their choices that they're making now are not the right ones. Okay, limiting beliefs in network marketing. I feel like we hear these a lot, at least I have. People are like, oh, is that a pyramid scheme? Or I really want to try some makeup or whatever, but I don't want to have it come from an MLM. I don't want multi-level marketing, or I don't want to bother my friends. These are all limiting beliefs in network marketing. So the last thing we want to do again is make people feel dumb and say, well, all corporations are pyramids, or kind of like dumb down their objection. We want to relate to them and say, well, why do you think you'd be bothering your friends? Like, what makes you think you'd bother them? Or if you really believed in a product, wouldn't you want to share that with your friends? Or really, he says, usually if they have some kind of reaction like that, they probably had a bad experience with an MLM or network marketing in the past. So it's a really great time to open it up and say, seems like maybe you had a bad experience. I'd love for you to share what that was with me. And then just have them open up and explain that so that you can tell your story or help explain the blind spot a little bit and say how our company and our products are different, or whatever else comes up to just help ease their mind about that. But usually they just have a bad taste in their mouth from somebody that did not do it the right way. Thankfully, I feel like Plexus does such a good job. Like, our team does a great job. Pink Power as a whole, Rock Your Purpose as a whole, does a really great job in doing this in a not sleazy, not salesy way. And usually once people are exposed to our company, they are much more comfortable continuing because we just do it the right way. So that's what I love about us. The other thing you could say is that pyramid schemes are illegal because they are, and we'd never be involved in something illegal, right? So that's another way that you can diffuse it in a non-demeaning way too. There was some verbiage on page 91 that I wanted to talk about. I kind of already mentioned it, but what makes you think you'd be bothering your friends? If you truly believed in the product, would you let your friends know about it? If I could show you how we could share this product with others without it feeling like a sales pitch, would that help you? So I thought those were good examples. And I think, again, we do a really great job in Rock Your Purpose of doing that. So that was chapter 8. I know I shared a lot of what he shared, but there are so many good bullet points. I did not want to miss them. So, okay, now chapter 8 is helping your prospects become customers or distributors. And really, this is just using the steps in chapter 7 really well, and then having a really great way to close or get the sale. Because sometimes we'll follow up, and then we don't really know what to do at the end. And you're like, I've asked them all the questions, but now what? So we really need to learn how to close the sale. And that's what this chapter is about. So first of all, we need to be confident and ask good questions. Again, we're not just trying to get people, we're trying to help them understand and learn what we have to offer by us asking questions and really listening to them, and not just asking questions and then waiting to respond with what we have, but asking questions and really listening to what their concerns are, what their issues are, so that we can help them specifically with their needs. It's also really important to, well, he says these are the things that professional people do. Professional closers, they are confident. They assume the sale. So people that are professional in network marketing they have so much belief in the products and the opportunity that they're sharing that they assume that somebody's going to say yes, so much so that if they say no, they're very surprised. So we have to be confident, assume that people are going to say yes, ask a lot of questions, and be more interested in them than you are interesting, right? We want to be asking and asking and asking because we want to know about them, not because we want them to just hear what we have to say. So really genuinely ask a lot of good questions. This one was new to me, but he says promoting yourself is really important too. So that's something that's hard for me. And I think, I don't know, maybe raise your hand or let me know in the chat if that feels difficult to you to say, look, you get me if we do this together. But if you promote yourself and say, you'll get me, you'll get my mentorship if you do this with me, not as in an I'll do everything for you, but we'll do this together and you'll have me as a mentor. That's a really big selling point for people too, to not feel like they're going to be alone. And then I liked his example of basically asking the questions like you're a consultant for people and being prepared for when they say yes, so that you have everything ready to give them the information that they need. But the consultant thing was really, it struck something with me. And this is how I always have viewed talking to people about the products or the opportunity. I kind of think of it, for all of us that are healthcare people here, as like an evaluation. So I know we have a lot of PTs, OTs, nurses, lots of you on here. But even if you're not, this kind of consultation question asking gets a lot more comfortable the more you do it. But basically, you just ask questions that get you to figure out what's going to be best for them. And it gets more smooth, like an evaluation for me as a PT, the more that you do it. So if you're not comfortable with any of those steps, he says to just act like you are. And I usually don't love the fake it till you make it kind of mentality, because I don't love being fake, but it's not being fake. It is just having confidence in yourself, maybe before the confidence is quite there. And that will help you build confidence in yourself too. And it'll help you look more professional. It'll help you feel more professional, and it'll get you better results too. Okay, last thing is the last 4 questions he usually asks to close with somebody. And these felt more like somebody that you wanted to do the business with you rather than the products. But there's different ones you can ask for closing for the products too. But the closing ones he had for the business were based on what you've seen. If you were to get started, how much would you need to earn per month to make it worth your time? And then approximately how many hours could you spend each week to develop that kind of income? And then how many months would you work those kind of hours to develop that kind of income? And then lastly, if I could show you how to develop the income that they said, if I could show you how to develop that income, working that many hours a week over the course of that many months, would you be ready to get started? And that breaks it down into numbers that they gave you, and you're probably going to have a really good result from that as well. So I loved these chapters. I thought it was really direct, straightforward. They were really meaty and had lots of good, important things in them. So anyway, I didn't want to skip anything, but I would love to hear from all of you now. I think everybody can unmute themselves and share with me what you took away from the chapters too.
I'll go if my little sassy puppy will behave himself. He's jumping around in my lap right now. But yeah, great job, Lauren. Thank you. It's funny because I've heard this so many times about it's going to take more than one exposure. You're going to have to, multiple exposures, multiple exposures. But when I read the way he reframed that concept too, the only reason to have there he goes. Sorry. The only reason to have an exposure is to set up the next exposure. Like that just changed my whole perspective on it. Instead of thinking, okay, well, I know I'm going to have this conversation multiple times. I'm going to have to reach out multiple times. As it just put it in a more positive sense. Like, okay, well, the whole point of this was to set up the next one. And, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the saying that diamonds, have just collected more no's than the rest of us have. And putting it in that positive frame of mind. I don't know. That just really struck me. I'm sorry. I kind of got distracted by the crazy dog. His dad's been gone for 2 days and he just got home. So he's went running to say hello. But I love that. I had that all starred and underlined and everything in my book about setting up an exposure just to set up the next exposure, and that positive spin on it. I'll stop babbling now.
I loved that too. I don't think you're alone. Sometimes we're like, dang it, we hope they'd say yes right away, but that rarely happens. I said yes pretty much right away, but I'm rare because that, again, rarely happens. So yeah, we set up an exposure, and then if they say no, we're expecting them to say not yet, or we want more information. And so then we set up the next exposure. I was mind blown by that too, actually. It's something that we already do, but twisting it just a little bit like that made a huge difference.
I'll go. So I took a lot from these two chapters when I'm working with Charla, and I was talking to some prospects, and I was overloading with information. So I love that he gives practical advice on not too much information. I know you're excited, but like pull it back a little and get them talking. So she's like, just put them in a three-way conversation with me, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Um, and I'm just like in awe because she's getting them talking. And I'm like, okay, like, why am I so bad at this? but but it's getting better. And like every single reach out, I'm getting just a little bit better. I'm tweaking it just a little bit. And it sounds so funny, but like I'm getting more relational, and I had no idea I was so unrelational before. So
I'm sure you were way more relational than you thought, but it's just different when you start something like this. And I think so. I see this a ton, but people will start sharing for the first time and they're like, oh, I don't need to do the three-way chat. Like that just feels different to me. But those three-way chats are so important, just like you just said, because you got to watch Charla and how she would ask questions and get information out of people. And now you're doing it better and better and better. And so then when people under you start sharing, they'll see how amazing you are at wording questions and getting people to talk. And that's just going to continue to help you grow. So that's great. Those three-way chats are amazing.
I'll have to pipe in here because it's funny because you learn from your upline and your downline in those three-way chats. And Lauren, you and I can speak to this a lot because Lauren is a lot fluffier on a lot of stuff. And I mean that with all love. I'm more of a fact person. And so sometimes I'll be in one of her three-way chats with her people and I'll go, oh my gosh, she said that so great, so I'll get some tips for her. And then she'll be, in another one, she'll be like, oh, I didn't realize that about that. So it's really great because we can see other people's styles and pick those things that seem to work really well. Because thank God we're all not the same. So it's really important that we are in those and we can learn from each other.
That is a super great point. Thank you for bringing that up. We do all have our own strengths, and each part of our personalities is important for something.
I totally
I,
agree.
for
I
one, love the
definitely.
part on,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Melissa, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going
Um,
to say, I really love the part on, oh, I think we're on a delay. You go, Melissa.
Oh, I could hear you. Whoever wants to talk, go for it.
Oh, sorry, I think there was like a delay or something, but yeah, so I really love the objections portion of the chapter because we do get objections a lot, whether it's with the products or with the business especially. And I do feel like, and Jackie and I worked through this early on when I was starting to build last summer, some objections to the business. And people can be kind of nasty about it. And Jackie really worked through with me through that. Like, this is not anything you have done. Like, this is something that has happened to them, and showing that empathy towards them. So that way, you're not coming across defensive, or you're not coming across as, like, well, you don't know what you're talking about type of thing. But just, showing that empathy because it's not about what you've done, it's what has happened to them. And then and having that reiterated into these chapters, I felt was so important. And also just like, it just makes you think about objections overall. Like, I have somebody who's like, well, I don't like taking capsules. It's like, well, it's just like 10 seconds of discomfort. We can, how can we make that easier for you? Like just kind of asking those, like you had mentioned too, those open-ended questions to get them to realize like, it's really not that bad, or we can break up the capsules. But again, showing, like, just making it about them and asking those questions so they come to the realization that they answer their own objections, I guess.
Yes,
Say.
exactly. I think it is delaying now. Or maybe
But you
that's,
did a great job, Lauren.
oh, thank you. You're sweet. You always have such good stuff to share. And congrats on Senior Ruby. I'm going to say it on the recording. You're amazing. I'm so proud of you. Am I delaying or what's going on here? Is that me? I'm so sorry.
I think everyone's maybe on a little delay because I thought Melissa was on a delay as well. But thank you so much. No, I have an incredible team. Jay, congratulations on going Ruby. Look at though how many people ranked up. Like, oh my goodness, like we've had such an amazing month. Yeah, I'm so proud of my team. They're awesome, and working with them and being able to lead them is just
So proud of you. All of you. I mean, and it's still going to keep going too. We still have a couple hours. This is exciting. Melissa, sorry, you were going to talk earlier. I'll let you talk now. I'll stop talking.
That's okay. That's okay. You both have very amazing things to say, so I'm glad to listen in too. And definitely congratulations to everyone. But one of the parts that really spoke to me in the book was to keep it condensed, because sometimes I'm really focused and following up, and you get people that are really interested, but then remembering to continue to keep setting those like times for follow up, and remembering to keep, track of them, and helping write them down in my planner has been a game changer. And just remembering to continue, okay, I talked to him today, and I want to follow up in a couple days. Otherwise, I've been guilty of life getting in the way, kind of going on the fly and then forgetting about people, and it gets, a couple weeks and you're like, oh shoot, I was supposed to follow up with them. So it was a good reminder to be a little more mindful of that and not feel like you're bothered, because people are interested and want the reminders and want you to ask them. But you then have to ask them, and if you don't go and do the work and ask them the questions and get the conversation going, then it doesn't necessarily go anywhere.
That's a really great point. I guess when I was reading, I was thinking of it how he explained it. If you wait too long, your prospect, I don't love the word prospect, but they kind of have life get in the way. But you're right. I mean, it happens to us too. I think we can all say there have been times when we're like, oh, shoot, I was going to follow up with that person 2 weeks ago, and here we are 2 weeks later. So it makes it easier for us and for them if we make it a more condensed follow up. So that's a great point.
Yes, I've had that a lot of times too, where they forget about some of that excitement and that urgency of why did I need these products in the first place? Or why did I need this business in the first place? So making sure we're following up. And I love that idea too, Melissa. I started doing that much better this month of writing people's names down in my planner of this is who I'm going to follow up with today. This is who I'm going to comment on today, and kind of following some of those silver and five ideas and kind of schedule regimen. And that has made such a big difference. And I really also liked his part where he was kind of saying the wording of what to say. If you can't tell, I like to talk. And I tend to talk too much or type too much, and people kind of get lost. So that has been really helpful to see that too for me. And congratulations, everybody. So proud of you and so excited for you. Good job.
You are so good at applying what you learn, Heather. I just want to tell you that in front of everybody, you are like constantly doing the things and then watching the videos and then actually putting it to use. And I can tell with how your team is growing too. So good job.
I'll chime in once more. The other thing that that struck me, or not that struck me, but that I was really grateful for, was some of the wording for objections, because I am guilty of, somebody says, oh, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, okay, cause I don't want to be offensive and I don't want to be seen as pushy. And so I just, that's just it. And I know that if I had better language, then I'm leaving the door open. Not that it's necessarily closed by just dropping the conversation at that point, but it's going to be harder for me to restart that conversation in the future when they're posting about their headaches or their stomach aches or whatever. Where if I had left that door open by using some of the, I just loved what he said, different ways to respond to objections rather than just, okay, yep, I hear you. Thanks for hearing me out. Like I was bothering them. And I don't believe that. I truly believe that everybody needs these products and definitely this business opportunity. But I was just appreciative of that, having some different responses to people's objections.
I totally agree. It's always helpful to have some examples. And those are some good ones. We do want to keep the conversation going, right? Just keep the conversation alive. It doesn't mean it has to be a yes every time you talk to them or whatever, but just the open-ended questions and leaving room for a follow-up later is super, super valuable. But even if you don't leave it open, because we've all done that before too, it's okay to go back again. And you can even say like, I've learned some more since we spoke last. I'd love to talk to you again. Or I thought of you for this specific reason or whatever. It's always okay to go back and follow up unless they say to you, like, never delete my number, never follow up with me again. But I don't know that has ever happened to me in 4.5 years. People are generally pretty kind. I think we've all, maybe not all of us, but some of us have had some people that aren't so nice, but that's rare. Most of the time people are just not ready yet and they need more information. So it's always okay, unless they tell you never reach out again, it's always okay to follow back up. And you're probably not bugging them either.
Hello? Is it working? Okay, thank you. The other thing that I really liked was the very end where you're managing the expectation of the financial side of, yeah, I want to work a business and I want to make $10,000, but I can only work an hour a week. And I want that to happen in 6 weeks, and Christina has really talked about this too. Like, okay, well, that is doable. What amount of time are you willing, just really asking those questions. And again, it kind of comes down to that no MLM thing because people have had a bad experience. And so really honing in, like, okay, can you commit 15 minutes a day? Okay, well, that's great. You can send one message, follow up with one person, and put one Facebook post up in 15 minutes, like, for sure. And then you can even read for 5 minutes of our book club book. Like, that's doable in 15 minutes. And that really does make it doable for someone to start sharing. And then if someone, like, I came in like ready to run full force because I saw so much potential that I was willing to put in an hour or 2 hours. And I had the time because my kids went to bed at 7 back in the day. And my husband was gone like 4 nights a week. So I would sit there and fold laundry and send messages and watch my Gilmore Girls. And I just had this great life, like up in my bedroom, And so, of course, that changed as I got going and different things, but really working with people and the amount of time and managing their expectation of what is the potential with the money side of things. And especially too now with the like huge bonuses for 3 people for silver, managing that expectation that, okay, now that was your bonus for getting your first 3 people. As you continue, if you're only having those 3 people order, your payment is going to look like this. This is your average paycheck. So let's see who else we can share with. Like, you're not going to let them stop at 3, right? we want to keep casting that vision to the next level. Oh my gosh, senior silver is this and gold is this, like who else can we think of? And let's help your Susie write up a post and all of that. But managing that expectation that they're not getting $300 every month for 3 people joining them. So those were the couple things that really stood out to me. And I love his examples where I feel like we need to like reread this, like, like just kind of ongoing, like pick this up for 5 minutes every day and just keep these ideas in our heads, because it's really easy to kind of let them slide out. So
Great points. Expectation management is huge. I think that's all I'm going to say about that, but expectation management is huge because yeah, like you said, $10,000 a month is doable. But if you only want to put in 15 minutes, it's going to take you a lot longer to get to $10,000 a month if that's all you're doing every day. So, but it is doable. But yeah, expectation management for sure. Anybody else have any nuggets from these chapters? I think we're all probably pretty excited to get back to helping people because it's the last day of the month. So if nobody else has anything to say, I'll stop the recording and say good luck for the last few hours. Okay, I guess I'll let it go. Have a great night, you guys. And congrats again to everybody that's already ranked up and everybody that's going to rank up here in a minute too. Pretty proud of our team this month. Great job. Okay.